Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Straight Talk. In this episode, we're here with Cameron Dakin at our Istanbul office.
How are you?
Cameron, today we will be talking about a subject that we are really passionate about, which is urban regeneration. Because we know and understand our city, we know the only way forward for Istanbul is urban regeneration, how much it is needed, and how much the government and the municipalities are backing it. And we have our own experience with the realm of urban regeneration that we have acquired through investing into urban regeneration projects, through selling urban regeneration project, and lately with building Sen Levent, which is our very own project. So I'd like you to talk to us a little bit about the importance of urban regeneration, because some people who are living, especially in the Western world, in more mature and more developed real estate markets, may not necessarily comprehend the gravity of the issue. So I'd like you to elaborate on the need of urban regeneration for city of Istanbul. Then we're going to talk about our experience.
You're talking about a massive city which is very hilly, and also you're talking about regenerating people's living spaces, allowing for roads, allowing for green areas. In other words, you're talking about taking a city, a very, very old city, with a significant portion of its stock being non-compliant, and going through replanning, restructuring, and regenerating living spaces. You can't turn such a massive, vibrant city into a construction zone overnight. Right. Then the whole thing would come to a standstill. So which means that you have to pace it correctly, you have to structure, you have to plan for it correctly, bit by bit by bit. Now, that requires a great deal of forecasting and vision, so that you do the right thing at the right time with minimum disruption to people's lives and minimum disruption to business and lifestyle. Now, when you look at all of those challenges, and on top of that, add the fact that majority of the housing stock that needs to be regenerated are not necessarily occupied by or belong to people who have the funds to regenerate them.
Of course, yeah.
Which means it's either got to be a complete government initiative, government literally bankrolling the regeneration over the next 10, 20 years, which is the minimum time it will take, in my opinion, minimum time, even if everything is done with perfect precision, or somehow the government needs to give incentives to private sector developers to come in, regenerate. And why would they do that? Well, they have to have a profit at the end. So you bring in private initiative developers, they come in, they get the full agreement of all the stakeholders, which is something that takes a lot of time, which we discovered ourselves, right, which we shall talk about. And then they need to rebuild, add necessary green areas, necessary, bits and pieces that will improve people's lifestyle and living conditions. So it's not just knock down and rebuild. No. You've got to plan for everything that a modern city would have, all the facilities within what you're rebuilding, street by street, district by district. And, well, it needs a lot of funding. So the developer then needs to come in, build all that, and make a profit at the end. Now, you're beginning to understand the difficulties, because if we currently look at the existing rules and regulations in the country, well, they don't always support private initiative to come in and profits out of it.
Of course. And from an investment perspective, when you look at these urban regeneration zones where these shanty towns have been formed, they're all in the central areas. They're all close to attraction centers. They're all close to landmarks.
Exactly.
Such as,
Touristic areas,
right,
landmarks,
talk
historic
about Taksim.
sites.
You just go 5 minutes to the left, you'll see a big shanty town. Same thing goes with Levent, and same thing goes with other areas.
Well, actually, Alaattin, our experience with Sen Levent is in parallel to our expectations.
Right.
In terms of urban regeneration, because Sen Levent, as it is due to its location, is in a attractive area. However, it is sandwiched in between the Levent business district,
Right.
the main primary business district of Istanbul in Levent, and the Gendre Avenue in Kağıthane, the main avenue that cuts all the way through
Right.
Kağıthane towards Maslak. So Sen Levent is kind of in the middle, a little bit up on the hill.
Yeah.
It's not on the avenue, but it's not on.
It's located at the top of the hill. That is a flat walking distance to the central business district. Well, the area is very tricky, though. You could have been located at the bottom of the hill. That, yes, technically, if you Google it, it could show a 10-minute walk to the central business district. But you look in front of you and you see a giant mountain that is full of houses that you need to climb up a hill to get there. But in our case, it's quite the opposite. So that's one of the attractive things about the location of that.
Well, from the regeneration viewpoint, which actually encouraged us to go into that very part, is that the Gendre Avenue, the Kağıthane, the main area of Kağıthane, is already regenerated.
Yes.
It's like the entire main avenue is now modern, contemporary. Prices have shot up. You know, what you would pay, literally, Alaattin, 4 years ago, what you'd pay $150,000 for on Gendre Avenue when it was being regenerated is now no less than $350,000.
Yes.
And such a price increase in such a short time, even in Istanbul, only happens in successful regeneration zones.
Right.
Only. Which Kağıthane, the Gendre Avenue, the main part of Kağıthane, is a testimony to that.
Right.
Now, well, the other side is Levent. It's the business district, which is already rather expensive, already regenerated mostly. So you have that little zone in between, which is maybe a kilometer or a kilometer and a half, which is like you go up the hill and then you come down the hill into Levent. Where we are is up that hill. Now, sandwiched in between two very prominent areas today, yet when you go up the hill, the price goes down.
Right.
However, regeneration started.
Mm-hmm.
There are very stylish new buildings already.
Yes.
And what we realized, and this was about 2 years ago when we first looked at that zone, is that the municipality, the local municipality, is very, very pro-regeneration.
Yes.
They are in support of regeneration, although it doesn't go without heavy bureaucracy. Oh my God. It's not without heavy bureaucracy, but once you manage how to negotiate through your way through that bureaucracy, these guys, they're in support of regeneration, and the existing regulations in the area give you a developer's profit.
Mm-hmm.
Because you knock down buildings that are 8 floors, but you can go up to 12, 13 floors.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, they will give you the allowance to knock down, let's say, 1,000 square meters, but build, say, 1,800 square meters. So you have that, extra that you can commercialize, without which you wouldn't at all get into that project. So, when we looked at it, we thought, okay, this little hill here, this little bit that is sandwiched in between two already developed areas, is definitely the next on.
Right.
Definitely the next on, and it will happen relatively quickly.
True.
Which for us is the exact picture we were looking for. Ugly ducklings of today that can become the swans of tomorrow, but not in 20 years, 10 years, within 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And this is exactly what we saw in the area where Sen Levent is located. So it was all tick, tick, tick. It ticked all the boxes for us. And then we got involved. Alaattin, as you know, it took us 18 months to get the initial license to knock down the existing buildings.
Right.
Now, normally, under normal circumstances, that is a 3, maximum 4-month process to actually get the license to get going, to get started. If you've got the right project with the right trimmings, in compliance with the existing regulations of that particular area, municipality, you submit it, maybe a few iterations going to and fro, 3 months, 4 months, you get the go-ahead.
Right.
You can start. That took 18 months in this case. Why? Well, there were around 200 stakeholders. So there were 200 existing houses, apartments, 200 stakeholders. We managed to get the majority to agree to our proposal as to what we would build there and what they would get in return, because we were very generous to them. 4 of them held out.
Oh, yes.
4 of them held out. Without them agreeing, we couldn't, despite the fact that we had already got more than 50% to agree, 60 or something, 4 of them held out for months. 4 months. They held us to ransom. They're saying, oh, if you don't give us this, we're not going to sign. And Alaattin, believe me, what they wanted was
outrageous.
Outrageous.
Yeah.
But they knew that they had us.
Yeah.
Because they knew that unless we cleared them, we couldn't clear for the project.
Right.
They held out. They held out for months and months. You know what we eventually had to do? Eventually, we had to go back to the municipality, the mayor, and we had to say, look, you personally have to get involved in this. Because these guys, they're driving us through hell.
Right.
You have to get involved in this because we're wasting time, we're wasting money, because every day is a waste.
Of course.
And eventually the mayor himself got involved, negotiated with the, imagine that, you get the mayor of an area to come and negotiate a deal with some stakeholders in a small regeneration project. This shows how in support that particular municipality is of regeneration. So eventually, we had to bribe them a little bit. Not the mayor, the stakeholders. We had to
compensate.
We had to bow to some of their requests, which were totally unreasonable, because we figured. Kazim was saying, "Well, do you remember that the heated discussion we had 6 months ago now?" Kazim was saying, "Well, this is what we need to pay them," and da. I said, "Kazim, this is outrageous. Come on, man. You can't pay that."
Yeah.
Kazim says, "Well, if you don't pay that, then we're going to have to wait another 6 months."
Right.
So then we did our sums and we figured, you know what? Although this is outrageous, well, let's do it.
Yeah.
Because it's the time cost of money. You know?
Of course.
So eventually those guys signed up, and then we were able to put the dossier together and submit it, and the municipality gave the go-ahead. So we knocked the buildings down, we did the excavation, and then there's the second level of planning permission you need to get in a regeneration zone.
Right.
So in an urban regeneration zone, you don't just get a planning permission and start. No. You have a few levels of permissions.
Yeah.
And as if that's not enough, you got to put a very, very sizable bond at the bank.
Right.
You can't just get started. No, because it's urban regeneration. And because it's urban regeneration, in theory, well, actually in reality, in my opinion, the government is underwriting the project.
Yes.
Although they don't put their name there, but it is urban regeneration. So the government is kind of the guarantor of the project.
Of course.
On behalf of the landlords. So what does the government want from you? A very sizable deposit, a very sizable bond that you lock up at the bank till the project is finished. Alaattin, believe me, it's massive.
I know.
We're talking a lot of money. So we said, okay, but can we put some of this in money and some of this in assets? And we had to negotiate. Yeah, we agreed. So we put, I think, 50% in money, and 50% we pledged assets, real estate, our own personal real estate to them. So eventually that hurdle was cleared. So We got it, and only then construction could start.
Yes.
So it took us 18 months, Alaattin,
Yeah.
to do something that normally would have taken 3-4 months.
Yes.
So these are the challenges, of regeneration projects.
I guess from what you're saying, what I'm hearing is this. I mean, you're saying as far as urban regeneration is a massive capital accelerator, especially if you can find a location, a particular block that is located in a central location that is close to an attraction center. This could be closeness to proximity to Taksim, proximity to Nishantasi, or proximity to Levent Central Business District in our particular case. What you're saying is the most time-consuming part of it is getting everybody agreed.
Of course.
Because and as you have mentioned, I mean, where these people come from and the kind of the backgrounds they have, they need to make the most of the thing, because this is a once in a lifetime, right? It's an opportunity. It's an extra dollar if they can make it here.
I think this is a proper opportunity.
Of course.
Because do you remember when we were knocking the buildings down?
Oh yeah.
I mean, we would go in with what you might call it, that machine that has that thing that boom knocks it down.
Yeah.
And one hit, and the whole facade wall would crumble down.
Oh yeah.
What I'm trying to say is, you remember because you took
Of
the
course,
video
yeah.
footage. Those buildings there were so shabby,
Yeah.
so poorly built.
Yeah.
Alaattin, that I mean, I'd have a hard time personally sleeping in one of those buildings.
Oh,
I had
yeah.
a hard time sleeping overnight in one of those buildings. They're so bad.
But look at it from the bright side, Cameron. What we have done, especially for those people who live there, some of them were tenants, some of them were homeowners. Whatever the municipality rate was to pay them as a rent. I think back then it was like 2,000 lira or 2,500 liras. So you got to pay him 18 months up front, all of him. And what we have done, we said, okay, in these conditions, this is not fair. This is not fair. These guys cannot rent a place in Istanbul for 2,000 lira. And what is this? We got a 3-4x that. So we have 3-4x.
Yeah,
and
that was part of the negotiation.
Yes, it was part of the negotiation, and they've got it. Okay, they applied, but then you always face these types of issues, such as two cousins are sitting next to one another. Oh, the apartment that you give me looks at this side. The apartment that you give him looks at this side. I want an apartment this side. Oh, I'm not going to sign. Can you imagine the amount of people and amount of dynamics that are involved in this? And yes, this was the time-consuming part. And from my perspective and what I see in construction is that building the building is easy. Right?
Building is the easy part.
Building is the easy part.
It's the
Yes.
easy part.
It is being able to get everybody agreed, get everybody on the same page.
It's the bureaucracy, the red tape, and it's the whole thing leading up to, with the regeneration projects, the biggest difficulty,
Right.
the most time spent, and a lot of expense as well, is getting everybody to sign up to agree, and then obtaining the relevant planning permissions and the relevant licenses, which are, more burdensome than a normal project. That is the stage that is the most difficult stage. And that is the stage that puts a lot of developers off, because they don't want to undergo such difficulties, because
Right.
it's time, it's money. But luckily, we managed to do that. And now the easy stage is started.
Yes. Thank
which
God.
is actually building.
Yes,
That's
the easy part is
stage.
starting, which
Yeah.
is the building, and currently we're at the excavation stage, and we're leveling the land now because it's a hilltop and it has quite a beautiful shape, the land, but you need to excavate and level the land first before the digging can start. And currently it is at that stage. I think in about a month or so we'll be at the groundworks level. We'll be pouring down the concrete and everything, and then the rest could we are thinking about between 12 to 18 months, but it could even be sooner, depending on the process of the construction. But in about 18 months or so, we're gonna have beautiful landmark, I would say, because the
Oh,
project
it's a
has
lovely
been
design.
yes, the project has been designed by the architect of Zaha Hadid, and the reason why we designed it the way we designed it wasn't necessarily because the area currently required that particular design, because we envisioned what the area is going to be in the next 5, 10, 20 years. Because I remember when I was talking to the architect, he has told me one thing. I said, Alaattin, we architects, when we do one building, that building will outlive us. That building, the guy's 50 years old now. He goes, this building is going to be there for the next 50, 60, 100, maybe 200 years, right? So whatever I'm creating now, I would want this particular building and the design of it to be able to stand the test of the time. Now, this is the correct mindset, and this is exactly what you expect from an architect who has a self-respect and respect to the very work that he is doing.
Absolutely. The design is really, really gorgeous. It's funky.
I'll tell you one of the challenges with urban regeneration, Cameron. Generally, especially in the city center areas, in urban regeneration areas, apart from the likes of Bomonti and Fikirtepe, where you are not creating ultra luxury towers, you need to cater towards affordability, right? We call this segment affordable luxury. Now, the biggest problem that the affordable luxury segment experiences is that once the building is built, right, because the developers want to make this affordable, they try to minimize the costs as much as possible. So they compromise from the quality of the materials. They compromise from the maintenance a little bit. And the buyers, when they see the finished product, they say, oh, okay, tamam, yani it wasn't an arm and a leg for us. Okay, it's a building. Yeah, the paint could have been better. Yeah, this material could have been better. But at the end of the day, all right, it's good, the value appreciated, whatever. What you see in 2 years is that very building looks old, looks as if it's been built 20 years ago,
Exactly.
15 years ago.
And that has a direct impact on the value growth of the building. This is one thing that, interestingly, a lot of developers and also, I have to say, a lot of buyers, a lot of investors overlook.
Right.
In 5 years' time, in 10 years' time, the value of the property you're buying today the value growth of the property is going to be directly related and relevant to how well the complex itself is managed and maintained. The better it is managed, the more professionally maintained it is, the more curb appeal it has in 5 years' time. The greener the grass is, the more vibrant the flowers are, the cleaner the playgrounds are, the brighter the facade looks, the trendier the people who live in it, the culture of the community in it. All of those determine what the value will be. And hence, they greatly determine your return on investment as an investor. This is why sometimes when I talk to investors or home buyers who do say that they would like to have a healthy return on investment, yet they do not wish to pay management fees. I'm like, okay, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm sorry, I do say that. If you don't pay management fees, or if you think paying $100 a month is too much, then who is going to maintain your property? Who is going to maintain the gardens? Who is going to maintain the reception? What's going to be the quality of the person who sits at the reception? All of those things, don't you realize that they will have a significant impact on the value of your property in 3 years' time, 5 years' time? When you say that, they go, I never thought about that. Well, you better start thinking about that.
Right.
So, this is an important thing. So, yes, you build in the right spot, at the right regeneration zone, that will be uplifted rather rapidly, such as where Sen Levent is, prime for uplift. The whole area, in my opinion, in 5 years will look entirely different.
Yes.
Entirely different. And again, in 5 years' time, I would go as far as saying that there will be no price difference between the hill itself, where we are, and the main avenue.
Right.
No price difference. Because in fact, knowing Turkish culture, and some of our audience, some of our viewers may not quite understand this, but knowing Turkish culture, Turks do not prefer to live on busy highways. So given the chance, in other words, given the chance of similar living conditions, similar quality, similar neighbors and neighborhoods, that rather live a little bit away from the main street, but with an easy access, than on the main avenue. That's Turkish mentality, which means, and 5 years ago, 6 years ago, the same thing happened in Media Highway, Basın Express.
Oh, yes.
And I was saying the same thing, which means that in 5 years' time, where Sen Levent is likely to be even more valuable than the Gendre Avenue Kağıthane today.
Right.
And Gendre Avenue Kağıthane today is already very valuable.
Of course.
So you see what I'm getting at. That's why the wave that's going to hit that little hill where Sen Levent is going to be quite a big wave when it hits. And people who bought at the right time, they will ride that wave without having to move a finger.
Cameron, thank you very much for this amazing episode. It's been such a long time that we haven't made one. Hopefully, we'll be talking more about urban regeneration to stress its importance, and we'll talk more about our very own building, Sen Levent, which we are really happy with its progress so far. And people want to see you more on these shows.
Well, let's do one of these every week.
Yes, we should.
Every week.
We should
Every
be.
week. So now that, summer is not over in Turkey yet. In fact, on the south coast of Turkey, we still have at least 2 months of very good summer, what I call the best of summer.
Right.
So after those 2 months, then I shall be more available in Istanbul.
Inshallah. All right, guys.
All right.
With this WhatsApp number, you can reach out to us. Thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next one.
Thanks a lot.